As the people of Ouagadougou sank into deep sleep, a gunshot suddenly rang out from the presidential palace. The peaceful night vanished in an instant, replaced by silent chaos creeping beneath the calm surface. Inside the cold marble corridors, where lights had just gone out, a president collapsed. Not at the hands of a foreign enemy, but by the man sworn to protect him with his life. President Ibrahim Traoré, the head of Burkina Faso, a leader once hailed as a symbol of resilience and independence, had just been shot. The shock wasn't just in the sound of the gunfire, but in who pulled the trigger. Commandant KS, his most trusted bodyguard. A man who had shielded him in firefights, once dubbed the steel wall in the shadows. And that night the wall fired the first shot. 3 gunshots, clean, precise, struck like a hammer to the heart of the nation. Blood stained the marble, and for many, it felt like the end. But in truth, it was only the beginning of a story. No one imagined a cross-border conspiracy, a silent counterstrike, and a leader who rose from the edge of death, not for revenge, but for war. 3 gunshots rang out, tearing through the night and the deafening silence of the presidential palace. The clock read 11:47 p.m. In the cold marble corridor, flashes of light accompanied each bullet, swift, precise, and deliberate. By the time guards arrived, President Ibrahim Traoré was lying still, his uniform soaked in blood. His red beret had rolled across the floor, a silent farewell. Standing above him, still gripping the weapon, was the one man no one ever suspected, Commandant KS. The shadow behind the president in every mission, every late-night briefing. A name unknown to the public, but a presence the president trusted with his life. His eyes held no anger, no fear, only a hollow stare, as if his soul had been emptied. No one moved. No one believed what they were seeing. In that moment, trust shattered like glass. When subdued, KS didn't resist. He knelt, dropped his gun, and uttered 4 words that stunned every officer around him. I had no choice. Those words, cryptic and heavy, opened the door to a storm. But at that moment, only one thing mattered: saving the president. Military medics rushed in, working amid sirens and chaos. They confirmed 3 bullets, 2 through soft tissue, 1 grazing a lung. Traoré was dying, but he was still alive. He was rushed to an underground medical facility. Above, the palace went into full lockdown. Metal doors slammed shut, red lights flashed, elite guards armed themselves, and exits were sealed. No one knew what had truly happened, only that if the last man standing could turn T as the surgical room door closed behind President Traoré, another war silently ignited, not with bullets, but with data encryption and digital footprints buried deep in the shadows of intelligence warfare. That very night, as the nation held its breath, unsure whether the president would survive, 6 men entered a room buried beneath the Capitol, a space untouched by light surveillance or phone signals. At the center, a digital war table lit only by a glowing map of West Africa. The Director of National Intelligence said just 3 words: activate S-24, Operation S-24, a protocol reserved for one nightmare scenario: betrayal from within the innermost circle. And tonight the unthinkable had happened. KS's entire digital profile was isolated and reassembled second by second. Within the first hour they spotted the first anomaly, a 12-minute window the night before the assassination, during which KS disappeared from all tracking systems. No reports, no surveillance, no excuse. For a man like KS, methodical to the millisecond, 12 minutes of silence was the loudest alarm. But that was just the surface. Analysts dove into encrypted apps previously installed on KS's secure phone. One had been deleted just before the shooting. Upon recovery, they discovered 3 unregistered foreign numbers masked by multi-layered VPNs. Then came the financial lead, a crypto transfer of over $350,000 to KS's cousin mere days before the shooting. The question was no longer why, but who. Who ordered this? Who funded it? Who dared target the heart of Burkina Faso's leadership? A new order was issued: widen the battlefield. Within 24 hours, covert agents were deployed to Ghana, Mali, and Côte d'Ivoire, the region's intelligence flashpoints. They posed as businessmen, journalists, NGO liaisons. Overhead drones scanned for signal clusters. Underground cyber teams decrypted terabytes of chatter. Then came the smoking gun, a satellite phone hidden in KS's cousin's home. It held a single encrypted message, set to auto-delete in 72 hours. It read, "Target confirmed, proceed. Funds secured, priority eliminate, no signature." But the number, traced through triple encryption, belonged to a dual national French-Ivorian diplomat linked to a European-funded Sahel stabilization initiative. Now the mask was off. This wasn't personal betrayal. It was a foreign coordinated strike designed to kill and disappear without a trace. It hit at the exact moment the president let his guard down, but they failed. And now, from a hospital bed, Ibrahim Traoré was rewriting the rules of the game. Then nothing was safe anymore. When Ibrahim Traoré opened his eyes after a 6-hour surgery, no one in the room dared to breathe. One doctor gripped another's shoulder. A seasoned guard wiped away tears. But the president didn't ask who shot him. He didn't ask how long he had left. He only whispered one word: justice. From that moment, an unspoken command rippled through the system. The game had changed. While the public and international media remained in the dark, believing Traoré was clinging to life inside the presidential war room, a digital map came back online. Red dots began to flash across West Africa, representing people payments satellite signals. The counteroffensive had a code name: Operation Vortex. This wasn't a conventional military response. No press conferences, no public statements. This was a silent war driven by action and consequence. Every link in the assassination plot was identified and marked. One target, Issaka Diallo, a former interior minister, turned exiled dissident living in a seaside mansion outside Abidjan. Another, a mysterious figure known only as the White Mask, a French diplomatic advisor who regularly met Diallo under the guise of humanitarian coordination. At exactly 2:00 a.m., an unmarked convoy left a base in eastern Burkina Faso. Simultaneously, covert operatives disguised as medical aid workers crossed the border into Côte d'Ivoire in a supply truck. Overhead, a drone intercepted encrypted low-frequency signals from 3 static nodes. There were no gunshots, no alarms. Before dawn, Diallo's estate went pitch black. Guards vanished, cameras were disabled, phone lines were cut. In under 7 minutes, the estate became a dead zone in the heart of a bustling suburb. What investigators recovered was chilling: an encrypted laptop linked to the same crypto wallet that had paid Commandant KS, a fake diplomatic badge bearing the seal of a European embassy, and most damning, a phone with an unsent draft message: Phase 1 failed. Target survived. What's Phase 2? The intelligence was relayed directly to Traoré's bedside. He didn't speak. He simply nodded. Phase 2 of Operation Vortex had begun. The room was silent when the cameras switched on. For 2 weeks, the world had speculated. Rumors swirled that Ibrahim Traoré was dead, incapacitated, or in hiding. News anchors whispered about a power vacuum. Analysts debated over regional instability. Enemies watched and waited, and yet no word came from the heart of Burkina Faso, until now. At precisely 8:00 p.m., the broadcast began, not with fanfare, but with a single frame: a man standing. No grand entrance, no special lighting, just a figure framed against the insignia of the Alliance of Sahel States, and a new banner never seen before, a silver falcon wrapped in steel claws. The emblem of Operation Vortex. Traoré stood tall, his posture straight, despite the bandages clearly visible beneath his uniform. His face bore fresh scars, but his eyes were fierce, calm, but razor-sharp. He looked directly into the lens. No teleprompter, no cue cards, just truth. Then he spoke. They tried to end me. They failed. 6 words, and across West Africa, across the continent, in embassies and living rooms and war rooms, time seemed to pause. For some, those words felt like thunder. For others, like judgment. But he wasn't done. This was not an act of madness. It was not a betrayal of one man. It was an attempt to break the will of a nation, and they thought they could do it in silence. But I am here to tell you, I am not broken. We are not broken. We have identified those responsible. Some wore uniforms, some wore suits, some hid behind NGOs, others behind embassies, but their names are known, their methods are exposed, their protection is gone. Behind him, the flags fluttered, Burkina Faso, the AES, and that rising falcon, now a symbol not of vengeance but resolve. This is not about revenge, Traoré said. It is about accountability. It is about sovereignty, and it is about something far deeper, about the right of our people to chart our own future without foreign chains. You did not just attack a leader, you attacked a movement. You attacked the idea that Africa can stand tall without your permission. But hear me now, Africa will rise with or without you. His voice never raised, but it carried the weight of a storm. You could feel it not as rage, but as purpose. A quiet power that no bullet had been able to kill. To those watching from the shadows, planning your next move, understand this: we are awake now, we are organized, and we will not be silenced again. Operation Vortex is not just a response, it is a reckoning, not in the streets but in the structures, not through chaos but through clarity. We will dismantle your networks, expose your agents, and sever your influence. One by one, and then came the pause, the kind of silence that feels like gravity. I was supposed to die, he said softly, but I didn't, and now I know why. Because this moment, this fire, this awakening, it needed a spark, and if my blood is what lit it, then so be it. He looked down for a moment, then back into the lens. To my people, Burkina Faso, Africans, brothers and sisters across this continent, we have been targets, we have been pawns, we have been used. But not anymore. The time for silence is over. The time for asking permission is over. Now is the time to reclaim what is ours, our resources, our dignity, our decisions, our destiny. Behind the camera, aides watched in stunned silence. Some clenched their fists, others wept, not for sorrow but for belief. Because in that moment they were not just watching a survivor, they were watching a symbol. A man who had risen from 3 bullets and a betrayal. Most men never recover from, not to cry foul, not to beg for support, but to declare war. Not of destruction, but of direction. He stepped forward now. To the world watching, do not mistake calm for weakness. Do not confuse our peace with passivity. We do not seek conflict, but we will no longer run from it. From Ouagadougou to Bamako, from Niamey to Ouagadougou, a new chapter is beginning, and if you are not ready for that, step aside, because we are coming. The screen faded to black. No anthem, no slogan. Just one final line that appeared across the screen. You tried to stop a man. You awakened a nation. I am Africa too. A reflection on Traoré, betrayal, and the battle for our future. When I first heard the news that someone had tried to assassinate Captain Ibrahim Traoré, I was sitting in a cafe in Accra, scrolling my phone, sipping bitter coffee that didn't taste quite right. The headline was sharp, impersonal: Burkina Faso president shot in palace attack. I remember blinking twice, thinking not him, anyone but him. Traoré wasn't just a man on my timeline. He wasn't just another military leader in fatigues making grand speeches about sovereignty. To many of us young Africans watching from our dusty classrooms, our crowded internet cafes, our distant diasporic corners, he was something more: a spark. He didn't beg for aid. He didn't dance for debt relief. He looked the world in the eye and said, "We will not be controlled," and for that they tried to kill him. It wasn't just that someone tried to assassinate him. It was how it happened. The man who pulled the trigger wasn't a foreign sniper or mercenary. He was his most trusted guard, a man known only as Commandant Chaos, a man who had stood behind Traoré in photos, protected him in war zones, and was called brother by the president himself. When I read that, my heart cracked. Because we all know what betrayal feels like in Africa. It's in our politics. It's in our history. From post-colonial coups to rigged elections, from IMF strings to puppet presidents, we have learned that the knife often comes not from across the ocean, but from the man at your shoulder. But this was intimate, surgical, and devastating. When KS said I had no choice, I felt an entire continent exhale in suspicion. What did he mean, blackmail programming foreign orders? I didn't have the answers, but I knew this: if they could turn his brother against him, they could turn anyone against any of us. And then the miracle happened. He didn't die. 3 bullets, close range. The kind of hit that ends not just a man, but a movement. But somehow Captain Ibrahim Traoré survived. And in that moment something ancient stirred inside me. Call it rage, call it pride, call it the spirit of Sankara, of Lumumba, of Nkrumah, whispering, "We are not done yet." Because he didn't just survive, he stood back up. He called it justice, not revenge, and in doing so, he did something extraordinary. He reclaimed the narrative. No victimhood, no tears, just resolve. When Operation Vortex was launched, it wasn't announced with fanfare. There were no public arrests, no sweeping speeches, just results. A quiet war, surgical and cold. People disappeared, connections were exposed. A former minister in exile, a foreign intelligence operative with a French passport, crypto trails, satellite phones, burner messages. Phase 1 failed. Target survived. And that's when I realized Africa was finally playing chess. We weren't begging for UN investigations or international sympathy. We were acting. For once, the response wasn't an apology, it was a counterstrike. And for young Africans like me, raised in a world that told us Africa was weak, corrupt, and hopeless, this was different. This was ours. Watching Traoré speak after the assassination attempt, still bruised and stitched, I felt like I was seeing all of us reflected back. He didn't speak like a wounded man. He didn't rant. He didn't cry. He just said, "They tried to end me. They failed." And in that moment, I didn't see just one man standing. I saw a continent rising. We're tired of watching leaders kneel before embassies, fly to summits, just to ask for scraps, smile at cameras while their people starve. We're tired of pretending like colonialism is over when its fingerprints are still on our currencies, our education systems, our vote counts. Traoré reminded us that dignity doesn't need permission. To the foreign powers who think Africa is still your sandbox, be warned. We see your fingerprints now, on the crypto transfers, on the NGO shields, on the backroom deals and the fake humanitarian visas. We know your language when you say stability, but mean control. We know your silence when our leaders fall, and your outrage when they stand. But here's the truth: we are no longer asking for your approval. The youth of Africa, millions of us, are more connected than ever. We read, we track, we understand. You tried to kill a man. You awakened a generation. I don't know what tomorrow holds for Traoré. I don't know if Operation Vortex will catch every snake hiding in the grass. But I know this: something irreversible has happened. A boundary has been crossed. A mask has slipped. And we, the people of Africa, have seen through it. We're not just dreaming anymore. We're organizing. We're mobilizing. We're watching every move, yours and ours. The story of Africa is no longer being written in foreign offices. It's being written in blood, in code, in whispers, and in defiance by people who refuse to die quietly. If you ask me what this moment means, it means Africa is waking up. It means we are done being puppets and pawns. It means we are taking back our stories, our borders, our futures. And if you still don't understand that, then listen again to the man who survived the bullets and stood up anyway. You came for a man. You woke a movement. And that movement, I am part of it. We all are. We are Africa. And we are not afraid anymore. We are the battleground. For centuries we've been fighting over land-language borders that were never ours to draw. We've been fractured by colonizers, by coups, by currencies we don't control, and debts we didn't choose. And yet even now in 2025 they still see us as territory to be managed, not people to be respected. That's why the Traoré story cuts so deeply, because it wasn't just about one president being shot. It was about a system that has long believed that African strength is a threat, and African unity is a virus that must be contained. They fear us not because of what we are now, but because of what we could become if we ever got aligned. They say Africa is rich in minerals, gold, lithium, oil, rare earths, but those aren't our greatest resources. We are. The young boy building apps in Lagos without electricity, the girl in a Dakar market selling vegetables and speaking 3 languages fluently, the activist in Goma live streaming police violence in real time, the coder in Nairobi reverse engineering surveillance software, the poet in Johannesburg writing resistance in verses too sharp for algorithms to censor. We are not the problem. We are the solution they fear. Traoré surviving wasn't a miracle, it was a reminder that no matter how many of us they silence in prison or buy off, some of us will survive long enough to expose the whole game. And when we do, we won't play it by their rules anymore. Reclaiming the story. Africa doesn't just need new leaders, we need new narrators. Because the real war isn't just over guns or money, it's over the story. Who gets to say what is instability? Who gets to decide what is democracy? Who defines good governance? And why is every African who stands tall suddenly labeled dangerous or radical? Why is it that the same powers who claim to support democracy are the ones funding shadow networks and paying assassins in crypto? The story has always been tilted, but now we have tools, phones, platforms, voices. Now we can speak. And it's time we told the world, you don't get to narrate our struggle anymore. We do. To my generation, rise. But rise strategically. To the young African reading this, whether you're in Kampala, Kinshasa, Nairobi, or Paris, I say this to you with everything I have. We are living in a historical pivot. They tried to assassinate a president. They tried to destabilize a movement. They tried to whisper to the world, see, Africa is still chaotic, but we must whisper back louder. No, you failed. We are still here, and now we are awake. But let our awakening be not just loud, but disciplined. Let us not rise with chaos, but with clarity. Let us build with code and culture. Let us infiltrate algorithms and legislatures. Let us protect our leaders, but also hold them accountable. Let us build new systems, not replicas of broken ones. Because to change the future, we can't just resist. We must redesign. Unity is not a dream. It's a deadline. There is a reason they try to divide us. Francophone versus Anglophone. Christian versus Muslim. Tribal versus national. Because divided we're manageable, but together we're unstoppable. Operation Vortex may have been a Burkina response, but its implications are continental. When one African nation exposes a foreign operation and responds strategically, it strengthens all of us. What if ECOWAS stopped being a bureaucracy and became a shield? What if the AU stopped reacting and started predicting? What if we had a pan-African intelligence network that protected our leaders from bullets before they were fired? We already have the minds. We already have the data. What we need now is the will, and we must find it before the next bullet finds another leader. The fire has been lit. They thought they were ending something with those 3 gunshots. What they didn't realize was that they started something bigger, a conversation, a reckoning, a realignment of what power looks like in Africa. Traoré may bear the scars, but we bear the fire, and that fire is now ours to carry into classrooms, into ballot boxes, into code, into film, into protest, into silence, into strategy, because we are not just here to survive. We are here to design the Africa that will never again be controlled co-opted or betrayed from within.